And I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us tonight for our webinar. My name is Kim Burton. I'm one of the Education Liaison Librarians here at Walden University. And with me is Ann Rojas. And Ann is the other Education Liaison Librarian here. However, everything we're going to talk to you about tonight is not subject specific. Where to send students when they are struggling. We're going to talk about how we are working to help students and how we can help the faculty. So I think all faculty from all the colleges will be able to take a bit away from the webinar tonight to help themselves and their students. So I just wanted to say hello, and I'm going to close my video camera and get started. So before I get started, I just want to do a little housekeeping. I put the link to the transcription service in the chat. There's also a handout. The slides to the presentation are in the handout section. You can download those now if you would like. This webinar is being recorded and it will be emailed to you in a few days. However, the slide deck will not be included in that email. So if you do want it, and there are some good links in it, you might want to download that now. There's also a place in the GoToWebinar toolbox where you can type in a question or a comment or idea. We would love to hear from you about anything you would like to talk about. Working with students, we want here to work with you, and that's what we're doing this webinar for, to open up some communications, let you know what we do and what we can provide for you. So our agenda today is pretty full. It shouldn't be too long of a webinar though. We want you to know that the library is here to help both students and faculty by working with students to teach them what they need to know about research, how to look at information differently as they transition from practitioners to scholars, and how to evaluate the resources they are locating. We are, by extension, helping you, the faculty. You'll see better quality resources in your students' reference lists, and when students are reading quality material, their output improves. Now, finding the right information when we're awash in sources can be challenging. Our instruction at the library is meant to help students find quality resources and develop the critical assessment skills necessary to find the information they need for weekly coursework, capstone projects, and beyond as a life skill. The Walden Library has a great collection, and we are here to partner with you to teach students about information in a scholarly setting. We can guide them to help them understand what peer-reviewed literature is, how to find it. We teach them the skills needed to execute effective searches in the databases, and all of this leads to the ultimate academic goal of discovery, whether doing weekly assignments or conducting their literature review. And they can use these critical thinking skills and these effective search strategies that we've been talking about while conducting their literature review to discover the current conversations in the area of research and how their study will fit into that conversation. Now, a big part of our time is spent helping students with the literature review. But we help all students, all levels of students for all different types of information needs. We can help them with finding theories and theorists, with methodology, even finding instruments for their studies, their research study. What we don't do is APA formatting. So if you have a student who's struggling out there, their reference list content-wise is not too good, you can send them to us. But if they're struggling and their reference list isn't doing good because of APA formatting, then they have to go to the Writing Center. The Writing Center is who deals with the APA formatting, and they'll be happy to help them. So we would also like to remind you that we would like to see students sooner rather than later. This is really important. Most students find the library session at the residency very helpful. The students who have our doctoral research appointments with a liaison librarian are very appreciative of that assistance, and they often say that they wish they had this information 3 years ago. So we want to get this information to them earlier. We want them to know it so they can build upon it. We want faculty to know what resources the library has so that you'll be able to point students in the right direction when they need help. You can send them to us for help, and in the meantime, you can point them out to where they can start so they can start to learn how to help themselves and really work on these information literacy skills that we're talking about here. As I mentioned, we are also here for the faculty. If you are doing research, we can assist you. We can run searches for faculty, not for students, but we can for faculty. And we're also interested in collaborative projects, anything from webinars, group advising, course drop-ins. So if you have anything in mind or any ideas or would like to know any ideas that we have, please feel free to contact us. We would love to talk to you about it. So this is the library homepage, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And I'm just going to start right now by giving a brief tour of this. I'm going to go out here to give you this little tour. Now, there's a couple ways when you come to the library homepage that you can get answers to your questions. And one of the easiest is this universal search box. This is my favorite thing on the Walden Library homepage. You can type anything in here and it will do a comprehensive search, searching multiple areas to find answers for you. So if you have questions about peer review, you can have a student come in here and just type this in, and this is what their result page is going to look at. You have these 3 columns. The first column is the results from the search done in Thoreau. Now, Thoreau is not a database. It is a search engine that the library uses. It can search many, but not all of our databases. It doesn't search them thoroughly or deeply. It kind of just does a quick review of them to search for material and then pulls them all together. So it did a search for peer review, which is kind of a broad topic. So of course it found a lot of results. What I'm really interested in are the next 2 columns. The middle column is the results from the search that was done in quick answers. Now, quick answers are kind of like the library frequently asked questions. Every time somebody types a question in that universal search box, we have a librarian who reviews those, and if the question is asked often, she will create a quick answer for that question. So we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of quick answers out there. So just from typing in peer review, I have these quick answers. What is peer review? How do I find an article that is not peer reviewed? How do I find scholarly peer reviewed journal articles? And so forth. So we can just open one of these and show you what a quick answer looks like. They're all pretty much set up in the same format. We have our content. It has a lot of links so you can go out to see exactly what we're talking about. We have screenshots and pictures. Often we also even have videos. And at the bottom, we have links for more information. So if your student reads this and they're still confused, we have some more information about peer review that they can click on, and it'll bring them to these other guides that we have at the library. Now, the third column is a result from the search from the library guides, and we have hundreds and hundreds of library guides as well. And library guides are set up to help students and also faculty work their way through a process, whether it is searching in the library, whether it's finding out what peer-reviewed is, whether it's evaluating resources. We have a library guide that's going to help you find the answers that you're looking for. So the very first result here, limit to peer review articles on peer review. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to bring me to the library guide on peer review. And all the library guides are set up similar, so that you can navigate through each one. You'll know what you'll expect when you see them. You'll know what they are. You have these brown tabs, gives you a little breakdown of what's underneath it. If I want to look at limited peer review articles, I can click on that tab, and then these boxes, I'll have two more links here to go to these boxes, and it'll explain what it is, how to limit to peer review, and then also how to verify peer review. So that's the first way you can get your answers to questions that you have done at the library. Another way, and also if you go to the library banner, anywhere you are, you can just click on that and it'll bring you back to the library homepage. The second way you can get answers to your questions is to ask a librarian. And we have two ways to access that on this page. This tab up here and also this big blue button. Both of those will take you to this page. This is the Ask a Librarian page. This is where students and faculty can come to ask questions. You can get in touch with us 4 different ways. Email. This is the quickest way to get in touch with us. We usually respond to all emails within 24 hours. Usually it's a lot less, unless of course there's a holiday. You can also chat with us. We have chat for limited hours throughout the day and weekend. You'll always see a little calendar here to tell you when chat is open. Chat is open right now, so I can click on this, type in my question, and hit submit. When you do this, the librarians on reference will answer you as soon as possible. And the reason is because when you submit that chat, it makes this very loud, annoying alarm, and that alarm is not going to go off until we answer it. So, and also, whenever we're on reference, for some reason, the librarians think it's a game. Once that alarm goes off, we all are racing to see who can be the first to answer it. Like, we're going to get a prize, and our prize is to talk to you or the student. So we're all in a rush to answer chats. There's a link right here that has our holiday hours, and this is good to know in case, so you're aware if you might expect a delay in a response. These are the days that the library is closed. You can call the library. You will have to leave a voicemail. It's not a manned number. We ask for the name, the Walden student ID, and the question, and we respond to all voicemails by email within 24 hours. And finally, you can set up a doctoral research appointment. So you can send your students here, to set up an appointment with us if you feel that they're struggling and they need a little bit of more one-on-one time. They can just click on this button, review our policies and agree to them, and then they just have to click the school that they're in, and if they want to do College of Education, they can just click on here to schedule an appointment. And we set up appointments. There's 3 ways. It can be set up by email. It could be set up by telephone or by Skype meeting. I don't really recommend an email appointment. I don't think the student is going to get the best delivery for them with an email appointment. A telephone or Skype is so much better because we can talk them through the research process. And with Skype, we can actually share our screen. So that is very helpful. Go back to the library homepage, and I just want to talk about these buttons up here. These buttons are some main points of entry at the library. Search and Find is going to give you this large list of things that people come to the library to search and look for. Finding an exact article, how to find books, dictionaries and encyclopedias. There's also a link to dissertations. Now, dissertations are a great resource for students. We have dissertations at Walden. It says all dissertations, but it's not all dissertations. It just extends outside of Walden. And also down here, we have a link on how to find award-winning dissertations from Walden University. So if you have a student who is wondering, what does it take to get an award for academic excellence in a capstone project, they can come here, look at these dissertations to see what an award-winning dissertation looks like. If you go into the dissertations at Walden, it's a great resource for students to look at to see how other scholars have set up their dissertations, but you can also search for advisors, so they can look you up. They can look, they can just click on here and type in your name so they can see what you expect from a published dissertation. And we always recommend that they put the name in here to find the advisor, because as you see, people make mistakes. And right here, this faculty member is put in here twice because there's a spelling error. But once you put that in there, you can add to search and then find all the dissertations that your advisor has advised on. The next tab I want to point out to you is the Services tab. And this is where you find the Faculty Services page. A lot of great resources here for faculty. This is just the welcome box that we have. Before I continue, I want to point this out right here. This is the Library Liaison role account. This is kind of like your bat phone to the library. If you email this with a question or a concern, it's checked every day. It's going to get to the person who can help you. It's going to get to either one of the managers, or it's going to get to the subject liaison librarian for your school, and they will reach out with you as soon as possible. So this is a good email to keep handy if you want to get in touch with us fast. We have a link. Next box is Faculty Services. These are the faculty services that the library can provide for you. We can do instruction services, and we'll get into this a little bit more later on, but a lot of things that we have here in a little video that you can watch about some of the services that was presented at the National Faculty Meeting in winter 2016. And then there's a link to the Faculty Toolbox. This is kind of, it says right there, it's a cheat sheet for how to get around the library for faculty. There's another video, some quick answers, links to guides, quick things that you can go, just as a refresher. You know, there's a lot of information here, and I know it can be overwhelming. This is where the link to the student referral form is. If you have a student who is struggling, you can refer that student to us. You can fill this form out, you can submit it, it'll come into the liaison roll count. It'll be sent to the correct librarian, and the librarian will contact the student. They will also either CC you on that email, or they will contact you directly to let you know that they're reaching out to that student. And I also really quickly wanted to point out the library faculty newsletter. We put this out quarterly. This is the summer issue. We do staff updates, interesting things that librarians have done. We have Anne's trip with Librarians Without Borders to Guatemala that she went to in April and through May 1st of this year. We have upcoming webinars. At the bottom, we have a Library Lab suggestion. If there's something you think your students are missing, do you think there's something that they would benefit from, a library webinar that would be helpful to them for your course, you can make a suggestion and put it in here. We would love to know your suggestions, and we would love to work with you or do this webinar on our own as well. And also there's a place for feedback. We want to know what your feedback is. We want to know what you guys are thinking, how we can help you, and your opinions on what we are doing. Okay, now what else? Oh, services, document delivery. This is a link for, in case there's any resource that you're looking for that you cannot find free online or in the Walden databases, you can request it through the document delivery service. And this just tells you a little bit about it and some of our guidelines. Under About, we have information about the staff, about our collections, our hours, our holiday hours, and our policies. And this is a picture of our friendly librarians. This was taken a couple years ago. Actually, before I started working here, we've been talking about doing another retreat, so my goal is to get on the staff photo page right here. And then finally, we also have this help button, and this is where we have the webinars and the guides. So under instructional media, we have upcoming webinars that you can point your students to. We also have recorded webinars, and these are divided by library skill, but also by topic. So if you have a student who just seems to be struggling a little in research, you can send them here. If you have a health sciences student and you're noticing they need some help with research, there's a recorded webinar on doing doctoral research in the health science field. So they can come here and they could just do a little refresher. This is some place that you guys can guide your students to. Also under help, under the research process, this is where we have all of our library guides. This is a quick answer box, so you can do a search here to find some guides. But we also have guides some are most popular and useful guides, such as how to evaluate resources, keyword searching, and such. And then down here, they're divided by assignment guides, library skills, and the topic guides are the subject guides that I was just talking about before. And finally, just to round out our tour on the homepage, we also have featured instruction, a link to upcoming webinars, collection highlights, and then a tour of the library. So in case, I know I said a whole lot and I'm talking kind of fast, but if you forgot anything that I talked about, or if you have a student who is really just beginning, you know, you can send them here, watch this video. It's a tutorial on a tour of the library. It could be very helpful for them as they're starting their research at Walden. And I know I kind of went over my allotted time there, Anne, but I'm going to turn this over to Anne now. Let me change presenter. And Anne, you can let me know when it's there.
Okay, so hopefully we've switched. And I have to get to the right place. So can you see my screen? I seem to have kind of a slow connection tonight, so hopefully this is going to work. Okay, great. So I was just going to talk a little bit about the subject research pages and some of the resources that are available here, so you can be sure and take advantage and know where to point your students, and continue on through a bit more of the tour. The subject research pages are found here with the articles by topic button. These big blue buttons are also major entry points for the library. So when you click on that articles by topic, you get the subject list, which basically is a list that aligns with the programs that we have here at Walden. So not too surprising. And we'll just go into one of those. We'll go into education. It's what I know best. But just keep in mind that all of the different subject pages have basically the same features that you want to keep in mind. So I encourage all students, and certainly faculty too, to bookmark their subject research page so that they can get to it quickly. Students sometimes think that they have to go through Blackboard or Portal in order to get to the library, but you can actually get there directly by just typing in library.waldenu.edu, and of course you can just bookmark the subject page or the home page to get there directly. So on the landing page of any of these subject research pages, you'll get an introductory box with you know, how to explore databases, a quick video. For us, we have the education databases listed, and really for ours and for all of the subject pages, those database lists are prioritized of recommendations for where we suggest you start. So we usually suggest people start in education source. And ERIC, of course, is a good one to go to as well for education. And we also have a list of multidisciplinary databases underneath. And this is just because so many of the topics that students are searching on are cross-disciplinary. And so the multidisciplinary databases can be really useful for them. They do have certain strengths of, you know, for particular topics, and so students in doing exploratory research might find that one or the other of them comes up more frequently, and then they'll know to go in and search that directly. Of course, related subject databases, again, because a lot of cross-disciplinary topics, and continue with additional resources as you go down through the page. And like I said, all of the subject pages are set up similarly. They're not exactly the same, but they have the same principles. They're working on the same principles. Now, in addition to this, we have these brown tabs, which are available on a lot of the library web pages, and I think that these are missed often by students who are searching for information. These brown tabs can take them to additional information about other aspects of their research outside of searching for research articles in journals. So for instance, we have books available here, find out information about statistics, methodology, theory, residency information. So all of these can be very useful. For instance, if you go to the methodology page, it's going to direct students to go to SAGE Research Methods Online so that they can find out more information about quantitative, qualitative research. We even have a couple of tutorials linked here on how to use SAGE Research Methods Online, so that can be really useful, in addition to some methodology books that are linked out. We also have, for instance, a great theory page where we send students frequently, and this just kind of describes what it's like to explore theories in research, because it is a little bit different from the research that they're doing for their assignments in their discussions and their weekly assignments, because they have to think a little bit differently in how they're going to do their searches, maybe look through encyclopedias. And on the education page, we have this table set up with theoretical works. It's not a comprehensive list, but it has a lot of different theories listed with citations and where the students might be able to find the text that goes with that theory. So you can see it's a pretty lengthy list, so it's a good place for students to get to as a jumping off point. And this is partly because a lot of times when students have been working through their programs and they've studied different theorists, and then when they get to the capstone project, they're not sure where to go and they're not remembering all of the theories or how the different methodologies work, and so they can go to these pages to get additional help. So those hopefully can be really useful for you and your students. Also, below the tabs are photos. This is another place where students can go to book an appointment. And we just like to make as many entry points as possible so that they can find us relatively easily. And both Kim and I are staffing the residency this week in Atlanta, so we don't have appointments available this week, but we will be loading more appointments for September, the last week of the month, which is the way that we always do it. And you can also book with any of the librarians. It doesn't have to be with a subject librarian, just so that you know we all answer all questions. So oftentimes it's good to get started with a librarian, even if it's outside of your subject area. So maybe we'll just pop into a database really quickly to do a quick demo of some of the shortcuts that we like to show students. And this is just because a lot of students like Google Scholar. We do love Google Scholar as a great tool, but we like to encourage them to use the databases because it's easier to drill down on their subject area to find more relevant articles on their topics. So for instance, if somebody's doing something on teens and dropout rates, we can search teens and dropouts and we'll get 247 articles. If we limit to peer review, we get 199. It doesn't seem like very many, and that's because we're not thinking about all the different ways that it might be expressed. So for teens, for instance, we like to use an asterisk because that has multiple endings. We can use an asterisk for truncation. That'll pick up teen, teenaged, teenager. So that can be really useful, and we can put in or adolescent or youth. We tell students to limit to one concept per line and separate out their synonyms with the word or, because it's just the easiest way to construct a good search string. For dropouts, we can look at dropout as one word, or we can look at it as two words, or we can look at it as hyphenated, and we're not really sure how things are indexed or how they're written in the articles, and so we like to encourage students to brainstorm additional vocabulary, and we do a lot of that when we're working on the reference desk and also when we have appointments with them. So if we do this, putting in the different variations of terms that would be involved in a teenage dropout search, you can see that now we get over 1,400 results instead of just 200. And so this is a way to make sure that the students are getting all of the literature that they should be getting when they're making when they're running their searches in the databases. Now, more isn't necessarily better, but it is good to be cognizant of the fact that there are a lot of different ways of expressing any single concept. And so using synonyms, synonyms are our friends when we're doing searches. Now, conversely, when we do have a lot of results and we want to start to focus, we can use indexing to focus the results, and we can start to search, for instance, in the abstracts or in the subject headings to start to add a little bit of focus to those results lists. And that's just because if we don't specify where we're searching, it's going to search everywhere. It might just be a passing mention. If we search in the abstracts, we go from 1,400 results to under 400, and this is going to be a much more focused set. And this expansion, contraction, focus of different search strings is just a way to show students how to get around those problems that they have when they have too specific of a search and they're not getting any results, or when they have something that's too broad and they need to add focus. Because as a general rule, those are the two, we see the two extremes a lot. We see students who have a very specific search or a very general search, and they're either frustrated because they can't find anything, nothing's been written on my topic, or they're overwhelmed because they're getting too many results. So hopefully this will jog your memories about different things that you did when you were in school. You can remember to send students our way if they need help with this. And there's really no excuse for students not finding good information for their weekly assignments and discussions. They should be able to go into any of the top suggested databases and find articles on their topic for their assignments. That said, there are some assignments that that we have specific help for, and that can be found through these assignment resources, this button on the home page. When you click on that assignment resources button, you're going to get a list of all of the different courses that we do have assignment help for, and it goes by course code. So if you have a counseling student who's having trouble in 6100 on their week 4 discussion, we have a link to some help for that. So these are available for a lot of different assignments, discussion posts that are more research intensive, so that students are able to find what they need to make those posts. And again, if you ever have a class where students are having a really hard time with a specific assignment and there's not one of these assignment guides in the library website, you can request that we put something together for your class. We're happy to do that. And so that's one way that they can find them. They can also find them through their course readings if we've sent them, if they've been sent to their course readings guide to find anything that's available in the library that's in the required readings. They can go to course readings and click on that and find links to all of the required readings that are available in the library, and also the links with these brown tabs over on the left to any additional help that they might find in the library. We do have some interesting discussion going on about this in the library right now, wondering if this helps students in order to guide them toward what they need, or if we're holding their hands too much and it's making it harder for them to transition when they get to their capstone projects. So if you have any opinions on that, we're certainly open to your opinions on it. You can put it in the chat or the question box, or you can email us directly. Like I say, we're curious to know how it looks from the faculty side. For us, maybe that we see a disproportionate number of students who are floundering, and that's why they're contacting us through Ask a Librarian, but we don't know. Maybe there are a lot of students who need some help for more information literacy instruction earlier rather than later. Because like Kim said early on, we don't usually hear from students, I really don't need this. We usually hear from students, boy, I wish I had talked to you X number of days, weeks, months, or years ago. I've heard it all, really. So I was going to go over the help guide as well, or the help pages, and Kim covered most of that. I'll just talk about a couple other things. One is that on the instructional media page, which is where we have all the webinars, there's this hidden page of tutorials that you can send students to, and this again goes through anatomy of a research article, which has actually been incorporated into the new curriculum for the PhD residency. There's also choosing search terms, finding databases, more general things. We have a new one on reference and citation mining, which hopefully will be useful for students. It's a little bit longer. It's almost 10 minutes. We try to keep them around 5. And these SAGE research methods online are also linked out. And then we do have some technical help available through the library as well. We find that people come to us for technical help often, and so while we're not actually the tech support desk, we can give you some troubleshooting tips here and also send you to tech support in addition to PDF help and other simpler questions that might come up with the students. So in addition to that, with the literature review, we find that students have to really alter their approach to searching. They're no longer looking for a relevant research article for a discussion post or an assignment or just a series for a shorter paper. When they're looking for that needle in a haystack, we can help them find that. They kind of know where they're going, and once they find it, then they're done and they leave the library and they're happy, and that's terrific. But then when they start their literature review, they have to look at it a bit differently because they're looking at making a comprehensive search about a topic, and hopefully they're finding the different threads of conversation, able to follow those threads of conversation to find out everything that's written about their topic as well as everything that touches on it. Ideally, students would be looking for articles on a regular basis. Some faculty encourage students to look for 1 a week, some say 3 a week, some say 5 a week. I think it just depends upon what stage they're at in their program. But if they're looking at it on a weekly basis, running searches on a weekly basis, doing the searches in the library databases is kind of like learning a language. And if you work on it a little bit every week, it's going to stick with you and they'll be able to internalize it more, learning how to tweak their searches to get the best results, learning what effect a change or addition in vocabulary does to any given search, and how to look through reference lists to see who comes up repeatedly so that they can find central authors surrounding a topic and who the seminal researchers are. In addition to this, instead of searching only the most recent 5 years, we encourage them to start out by looking at everything. I know that they have to have literature from just mostly the last 5 years in their lit reviews, but we really want them to broaden their horizons so that they're not missing key seminal works, and then they can start to drill down and look for more recent work since that. Let me just take a look at. There's a question, are there activities that we suggest that you can use with mentees to help them with searching? Well, we can do drop-ins with your mentee groups. We have done that in the past. Both Kim and I have worked with mentee groups. I've also had some office hours that I piloted over the summer that had kind of mixed success. I had my last one last night, and there was somebody who had a lot of IRB questions, which is too bad because I hate to tell people to go somewhere else, but sometimes I do have to do that. When we have those small drop-ins with a small group, with a class, or doing office hours, and we can set that up to do it in Skype. Usually works best, again, because we can share our screen. That really helps a lot because we can ask them to field their questions. They can also get ideas by bouncing ideas off of each other. In the office hours that I piloted over the summer, we asked students to either come to office hours from after going to residency sessions or to watch one of the recorded webinars and come in to office hours after watching the recorded webinar so that they had a little bit of fuel to add to spark some questions. And so that worked. It worked pretty well, and we're always interested in doing more. The only proviso, I guess, I would put in that is that if you have a really small mentee group, if you think only, like only one person is going to show up, we can do that with an appointment just as easily as with an advising session in a classroom or with office hours, and that's just because it works well if we have more people there, not more than a dozen, but if we have 3 to 10 or 3 to 12 people in the room, then they can kind of bounce ideas off of each other and get ideas for questions just based on what the other students are asking. So I guess that's what we've done in the past, and it's been pretty effective. Otherwise, they can book appointments with us if you think that they really need just one-on-one help. Because those appointments, it's
Anne? I think we might have...
You've lost me.
Yeah, your audio went out. Are you there? Well, I think we've lost Anne's audio. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for Anne to get back, what we can do is I can change the presentation back to me and just continue on where Anne left off. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get caught up to see exactly where we are. So Anne was talking about the literature review. We're trying to help the students help themselves. We're teaching them information literacy so that they can know when they need information, where to go to get that information, and then be able to evaluate that information to make sure it is appropriate for their purpose.
I think I'm back.
Oh, you are back. Okay.
I'm so
Did you
sorry.
want to?
Yeah, I'll just finish up because I feel bad that you kind of got stuck in the middle there. And I'm really glad for Carol's question. Hopefully I got through most of the end of that. I find I'm talking to myself too many times on these. But really we would like as much collaboration with you as faculty as possible so that we're sure that we're delivering the right information at the right time for the students. And so if your students need more than Ask a Librarian and appointments, if you want us to visit your classroom, let us know. I think that a lot of times if we point them in the direction of those recorded webinars and they watch those, that generates good questions because it kind of renews their knowledge of what they went through in the residency early on in their programs. And so appointments are great. If we can do drop-ins in your classrooms, that will help us hopefully help more than one student at a time. And having those drop-ins and office hours really helps them start to internalize the concepts and the processes that we're trying to teach them, and so that helps them in turn apply what they've learned in practice. So does anybody have any other questions? I think we just have links on the next slide. I'm not sharing my screen anymore if you want to go forward. Thanks. Sure. So contact us if you want anything as far as webinars, if you want us to add an assignment guide, visit your classroom. If you want any learning objects to embed in the classroom, we're happy to help you with that. A lot of things we already have made. It's just a matter of getting them out to students. But we find that faculty have get the students' attention much more than the librarians do. And so we encourage you to promote the library and send the students our way earlier rather than later. Because when we send out like a mass email asking students to come to a webinar, we get students to come, but when the faculty send out that notice, we tend to get more registration, more students show up, and that makes it much more helpful for us and for the students, and hopefully in turn for you as well. So does anybody have any questions?
Oh, there.
There we go. So we have resources linked out from the last page in the slide deck, but you can always email us directly. Our emails are in the slide deck as well, or you can use the library liaison email. Really no questions in the questions pane. Oh, well, good. I'm glad you found it useful. Thanks, Carol. So that's all we've got for you tonight. You know where to find us, and if any of you are going to be staffing residency, we'll look forward to talking to you in Atlanta this week. And feel free to let us know when you have any kind of a library need.
Yes, and thank you all for coming. Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.